The moment I realized my roommate had been hiding something in my room started with a sound I could not explain. It was late at night. The apartment was quiet. I was sitting at my desk when I heard a faint noise from inside my closet. At first I assumed something had simply fallen off a shelf. But when I opened the door to check, everything looked perfectly normal. Nothing had moved. Nothing was out of place. And yet the strange feeling that something was wrong refused to go away. What I did not realize was that this small moment would eventually reveal something my roommate had been hiding for weeks. Inside my own room. My name is Daniel. About a year ago, I moved into an apartment with a roommate named Rian. Rian and I met through a mutual friend who believed we would be compatible living partners. At first, everything about the arrangement seemed ideal. The apartment was located close to our workplaces. The rent was reasonable, and Rian appeared friendly and responsible. During the first several months, our routine felt simple and comfortable. We respected each other's schedules, shared household responsibilities, occasionally watched movies in the living room during weekends. Rian worked in graphic design and often spent long hours on freelance projects. Because of that, he sometimes stayed awake much later than I did. But our schedules rarely created conflict. For the most part, living together felt easy. That is why the strange moments that started happening later felt so confusing. They were small details at first, easy to dismiss. But eventually, they began forming a pattern that made me uncomfortable. The first unusual detail appeared one evening when I returned home from work earlier than expected. As I entered the apartment, I heard Rian moving quickly down the hallway. When I stepped into my room, he was standing near my desk. He looked surprised. "Oh, I thought you were still at work," he said quickly. At the time, I did not question it. Perhaps he had needed something from the room. But later that night, I noticed something odd. The drawer where I kept personal documents was slightly open. I clearly remembered closing it earlier that morning. Still, I convinced myself it was nothing. Maybe I had forgotten. Maybe Rian had entered the room looking for something we shared. Over the following weeks, similar situations continued. Occasionally, I would return home and notice my bedroom door slightly ajar. Other times, small objects on my desk would appear slightly moved. Nothing major, just small differences. But those small differences slowly created an uncomfortable thought in my mind. Why would Rian be entering my room when I was not home? One evening, I decided to ask him directly. "Hey Rian, have you been going into my room recently?" He looked surprised. "Only once or twice," he replied. "I thought I left my phone charger there." His answer sounded reasonable. Still, something about the situation felt incomplete. Because the small changes in the room had happened more often than once or twice. But without clear proof, I decided not to push the issue further. However, the strange feeling did not disappear. About 2 weeks later, something happened that completely changed the situation. I came home from work late in the evening. Rian was not in the apartment. As I walked into my room, I noticed my closet door was slightly open. That detail immediately caught my attention. I always closed that door. Every day. Without exception. Curious, I stepped closer and looked inside. At first, everything appeared normal. Clothes hanging neatly. Shoes on the lower shelf. But then I noticed something new. A small black backpack placed in the corner behind several jackets. The bag did not belong to me. I had never seen it before. For several seconds, I simply stared at it, trying to understand why it was there. Eventually, curiosity overcame hesitation. I reached down and opened the zipper. Inside the backpack were several envelopes filled with documents. Not my documents. Each envelope contained paperwork with unfamiliar names and identification copies. The realization hit me immediately. Rien had been hiding something in my closet. And whatever it was, it involved other people's personal information. At that moment, the sound of the front door opening echoed through the apartment. Rien had returned home. I closed the backpack quickly and stepped back from the closet. Within seconds, Rien appeared in the hallway. When he saw me standing near the closet, his expression changed instantly. "You opened it," he said quietly. I did not deny it. "Why is that bag in my room?" I asked. For a moment, Rien remained silent. Then he sighed and sat down on the edge of the bed. "I did not want to involve you," he said. That sentence made the situation feel even more serious. Rien explained that he had been helping a friend organize documents for several freelance business registrations. His friend traveled frequently and asked Rien to store the paperwork temporarily. Because Rien's room was often messy with work equipment, he believed my closet was a safer place where the documents would not be disturbed. However, he admitted something important. He should have asked permission first. Instead, he quietly placed the backpack there while I was away. Then he occasionally entered the room to check the documents or add new paperwork. After hearing the full explanation, my initial frustration slowly faded into understanding. The situation was not illegal or dangerous, just poorly communicated. Rien removed the backpack immediately and apologized sincerely. Looking back, the situation taught both of us an important lesson about shared living spaces. Trust between roommates depends on clear communication. Even small actions can create confusion when they happen without explanation. Fortunately, the misunderstanding ended without serious consequences. But the experience reminded me how quickly small mysteries can grow when we do not know the full story. Living with roommates always involves trust, but sometimes that trust can be tested by situations we never expected. If you discovered something hidden in your room that did not belong to you, what would you do first? Would you confront your roommate immediately? Or would you investigate quietly before asking questions? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy suspenseful real-life stories about roommates, secrets, and strange discoveries, subscribe to the channel, because the next story might reveal something even more surprising.